Welcome to DFW Running Talk. I'm Chris Detzel, so let's get started. All right, welcome to another DFW Running Talk. I'm Chris Detzel, and today we have some folks coming back to this episode to talk about their Boston Marathon journey and also London Marathon journey. So let's kick it off with Rena. Rena, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, I was going to say welcome back. The last one, you were here for 2 minutes and then you left and technology issues, but I'm glad you get to make it today. So welcome. We have Mimi Smith back. Mimi, how are you?
Good, thank you. How are you doing?
Good. Doing well. Aaron Pearson. Aaron, how's it going?
Howdy, howdy. Way above average.
Good. And you all did way above average. And Jennifer Pope. Jennifer, how are you?
I'm great.
Most ran Boston Marathon. Jennifer Pope ran London Marathon. So we'll get into all of those things. But first, I want to talk to Aaron Pearson and ask him a little bit about kind of your Boston Marathon, how awesome you did. I was so impressed. I did see you, by the way, there for a little bit and said hello and stuff like that. But Aaron, how'd it go?
Yeah, it was a PR, so I think that's always something to be, I think, excited about, or that went well. I think I did a lot of things this training cycle that, just from our last time that we spoke, gave me the confidence to do well under the circumstances. So for me, I felt like it was a really great race. I felt like it was honestly, it was a mostly solo run, even though you're doing it with 30,000 people, just for different reasons. For me, I just felt like I was running a solo race, which honestly helped me with the mental game for it. But overall, I'm really happy with it. Obviously, I'm hungry for more, but I'm very grateful for the PR and just a good build up and staying healthy.
Just think of the course.
The course is what it is. I wish I would have went. If what would you change? I would go a little bit faster than the first mile. I got stuck just behind a bunch of people, and then it just threw me off a little bit. So I would have done a little bit differently the first mile. But other than that, I already knew what to expect being the third time that I've done it. And I would say that, yeah, I enjoy the course a lot, honestly, because if you are very strategic with it and you don't get too happy with going too fast downhill, then it's a really fun course to enjoy towards the end. Didn't enjoy it towards the end, not because I wasn't in, I don't think, the best shape. It was more so because I miscalculated on my goos and just
no.
a couple of other self-inflicted issues, I would say. But outside of that, the courses, I really do love the course. I think it's a fun and rewarding course if you strategically place yourself and don't get too caught up with the crowds.
And, you know, you mentioned you wanted to do under 240 last episode. What'd you do?
Yeah, my A goal was 234.59. And
I remember
yes,
that.
yeah. Oh, my previous PR was like 240 and some change or whatever, and I ran a 237, I think 13. So good PR and
PR.
yeah. So very happy with what was going on there.
That's great, Aaron. And we'll come back to you. And Rena Elmer. So Rena, we never really got a chance to talk last time. So I want to know a little bit more kind of your training and how that went towards Boston, and then how was your Boston?
Training for Boston, the first 6 weeks, I say, was amazing. I was just hitting record workouts. I think I had a very different last 6 weeks than I've ever had in any of my training ever. It was really hard. There was just a lot of stress just in my personal life with my kids having so many activities. Boston is an awesome race, but the timing is really difficult when you have lots of kids in school and they have finals
Break
and
and
they have
things.
championship races and they have, yeah, all their things going on. But I just stuck to my plan. And I think maybe I probably needed to rest more, but I just stayed with my plan. I expected to go in and run and feel really good. I was telling myself I was going to feel really good, but I didn't feel so great in the run. But I managed to hold pace and I just gutted it out the whole time. So I'm really happy about the time I ran for how I actually felt in the last 6 weeks of my training.
So you still trained, you're stressed
Yeah,
out more so than usual. Is that right? Or-
yeah, and that's the hard thing when you don't have a coach. I think it was definitely like overtraining symptoms, but I didn't realize that till it was too late. And so then I backed off a lot in the last few weeks, like last 4 weeks leading up. And if
Okay.
I hadn't, I think I probably wouldn't have even ran as well as I did. But no, I loved the experience and I learned a lot from that. Is just if you have a lot of stress in your life and you're not getting a lot of sleep, like you need to just back off. So
I love that. That's really great advice. And you actually did that. A lot of people just keep going. And So was that your first Boston or?
Yes. Yeah. That was my first Boston.
Okay, how'd you do?
I
Let me
didn't-
know.
So I went in ranked 50th and I finished 43rd. So
Wow.
that was my goal, was to be top 50.
Okay, congratulations. That's
Thank you.
pretty
I was
awesome.
hoping to run a PR, but I tried to stay positive and tell myself I was going to run a PR. Didn't get that. But for how I felt, I did absolutely amazing. I'm very happy for how hard I worked.
Yeah, you ran at 2:38 or 7 or
Yeah, it was 2:37,
okay.
40 something,
That's
which is
amazing.
my
I mean,
second fastest time ever. And it was on the
pretty,
Boston course. And it was
oh
just,
no.
Erin was
If she
saying,
does
it's kind
again,
of
maybe
like
she'll
the
come
whole race,
back.
you're just running completely
Mimi,
alone,
how's it going?
but it's good.
It's good. It's good.
Good. So you ran Boston again? That's
I
that's
did.
not your first time, right? Oh,
No, my first time was in 2023, 2
correct.
years since I ran it last.
Smoke it fast this time. How'd it go?
Good. Pretty similar sentiments to everyone else. I would say I squeaked away with a 20-second PR. So not a huge PR, but I'll take it on arguably a more challenging course. I have some opinions on that, but I think we had talked about last time on the podcast, even though you were having us on, we were talking all about times. I had a specific time goal-ish that I wanted to hit, but I really cared more about running it and racing it.
Yeah, I
I
remember.
felt like a lot of the marathons that I've done recently, I've just been running it for a time and I haven't really been focused on the actual like intricacies and technicalities of an actual race. And I was able to start in the pro field, like Rena just talked about, and that created an opportunity where initially I thought I was nervous that it would get strung out really quickly. And I actually was able to run with a group of probably 5 women for all of 18 miles, like going back and forth and racing. So
How fun is that? That is fun
yeah,
to watch, by the way.
it was really fun to race it. Like the miles went by really quickly. Having bottles on the course was like a game changer nutrition wise. I dropped a few of my gels too. So if I didn't have bottles, I think I probably would have been screwed. But yeah, overall, I was just really happy with the results. I ran 2:34:04 and was 26 overall.
Congratulations. What was fun about that is I was sitting there in my hotel about to go to this other hotel to eat, I don't know, to meet my wife or at least to go cheer on at the finish line. But I saw you on the TV with some other fast women, and it was cool because they were saying some things, the commentators, and I took a video of it and posted it. I was like, oh my God, this is Mimi. So it was cool.
Yeah, and they definitely thought we were the lead pack, but how it strung out really quickly. So for those of you who haven't run Boston, it's pretty much straight downhill the first mile. At the very end, there's a little bit of an uphill, but it's pretty much a really steep downhill. Really quickly, we split up into 2 groups, one with the people who were part of the actual professional field, and then a second group. And I was part of that second group. And honestly, I felt like I got in front of that group and I slowed down. And me and this one other runner who I've raced against a few times named Haley Bowes, we were running together and we slowed down and set the pace for that group. So it really quickly divided into, and we weren't that far off them. 2 miles in, it was a good enough gap where we were probably like 15 seconds off them and a motorcycle could come on in. And I think the camera for that front group broke or something. So they were filming us, and the announcers who were at the finish line only saw us, and they go, oh, the pros are letting the other runners take the pace and relaxing. And no, we were not the pro pack. But hey, airtime's airtime.
Airtime, yeah, it was just, to me, it was just fun to see. And that was really cool that I even got it recorded. So we'll come back to some of that. But Jennifer Pope, you were in London.
I did. It was a great experience. A new course, obviously different country. So loved it.
And again, that was your first time to run London. What was the experience like? You get there, sure you're a little tired. Did you get there a few days before? How'd that work out?
Yeah, I kept debating how soon I needed to get there to try to get on the right fleet schedule. I ended up flying in on Thursday morning for the Sunday race and just trying to get sunshine in the morning, taking melatonin at night to try to get on that schedule. But I don't think that had much effect by Sunday. I felt pretty good. So it was, yeah, I don't think that was too, I worried about it more than it probably needed to.
I heard they had record number of people there. Did you feel like, was it hard to get up at that front? And then what was that crowd like just trying to get started and going?
Yes, it was very crowded and I started really fast. I meant to fast, but I also feel like I just got into a flow with everyone around me and they were all just cooking right out of the gate. And of course, I know I could have slowed down and made people go around me, but I just went with it and decided to hold on as long as I could. And I went in with that strategy. Interesting hearing Aaron say he had all the confidence in the world to build it. I feel like I was just such a long time of injuries. And even I could make a joke with Rena that literally in January we ran a race together and I couldn't even run 9 miles at 6:15 pace, trying as hard as I could. And I didn't have a lot of confidence going into the race. It didn't even start to click really for me until that last month, and everything was very smooth, which I guess just is great timing. But I just went for it right from the beginning, and I just felt good to see how long I can hold and what I can do. And so that was the strategy.
And you ran pretty fast, and you ran with the regular field. You didn't run with the elites, is that right? Or
It's like their equivalent of like an ADP. It's their championship entry, which
Okay.
is, it does have standards that you have to meet to get into it. Yeah. So
Okay,
you
so
kind
you
of
did.
start close to the front.
Okay, so that's got to be helpful then to at least
Yeah.
miss some of the crowds. I'm sure it's still really crowded, but
Yeah. It'd
56,000 people.
be nothing like starting in the normal math. It would be extremely crowded. I don't think you'd even get your own pace at the beginning with in the math being for quite a few miles.
Crazy. And as we go around again, let's think about maybe some of the experiences. Great, you had a great race. And by the way, Jennifer, would you run in London? What was the time?
It was 2:36:11.
And is that a PR for you or?
Yes, that was a PR
That's-
by about 12 seconds, and I've barely hung on, but we.
That's pretty awesome. And congratulations to all of you for running really great races. It's insane that this many would just go out. You have to travel for the race. You have to prepare all of those things and have such great races. So did anybody bring family, friends, husband, wife? What did that look like? And out at that, let's get it to Rena. Any,
Yeah, my sister-in-law met me out there. She stayed with me. My husband stayed home with the kids because it was
Okay.
Easter weekend.
no, that one
And it was
was
good.
tough.
And she brought Tylenol PM. So I was like, I'm not taking that. That's going to make me groggy. And then by 2:00 in the morning, I was like, I couldn't fall asleep. I'm like, okay, I have to.
All right. Bummer. Anybody else? Like, when you think of kind of did you bring family, Aaron? Did you bring family, friends, anything like that?
Yeah, I try to incorporate my family into literally almost everything that I do as much as they would like to, just to share the same experiences. So I have 2 young daughters, one that is 5 and one that is 1.5. And then my wife came. My first Boston, I brought probably like 15 people. This one, I brought my immediate family, and then my in-laws came as well. But I think we've just been traveling a lot as a family, so it's a little bit easier to do that. But at the same time, I brought my Normatec. I laid on the couch. They went to go walk the Freedom Trail, and I just stayed there and ate a bunch of bagels and sat in Normatec until we can explore afterwards. But I think it's logistically a little bit more work, but it takes some prep time, I would say, ahead of time. And it also takes a village, if you will. Like I said, we brought my in-laws, which was extremely helpful, so that my wife had some support with as she was wandering around a city and doing that. But no, I think there are a few things that are better than seeing the people that you love and care for, like seeing you on there. It's like, all right, I did all these early mornings, all this training, all this time, and it's just for one moment. And then those are the ones that I enjoy the most, is just afterwards celebrating with them and just, yeah, the joy there.
That's awesome. Did you guys like do any of when you went to go get your bib, did you bring the family to get your bib, Aaron? Or and then did you go and look around at the shoes and other things outside? How you can go to these different areas and just find different pop-ups and things like that?
I went on a business trip and I just did business. So
Okay.
a different kind of approach that I have than normal for this, but that's why I stay afterwards, is because that's for after. But I put in this much work, I'm not treating it anything else. Unfortunately, however you look at it, it's unfortunate that I feel like the expo has not lived up to what it was previously when I've gone. So I don't know what was going on there,
Definitely.
but fortunately, it wasn't an experience that they really missed out on. So no, I went by myself. I went there. I was basically in and out. They corralled us in a very awkward space. I spent more time walking in that than I did anywhere else. But after that, I rode a bike. I wasn't on my feet. I did nothing else. No, they didn't go with me to the expo. We really didn't do, outside of going to restaurants. And even then I was like, I'm walking to here. I'm jumping on the train, and just because you get 10,000 steps just walking through Boston regardless. And so I'm just, yeah, but I was just treating it like I had one objective, one goal for this thing, and that's it. So
Yeah, we get there on Friday. And then we have all the way until Monday, but my wife would go get her bib, and then on that Friday we kind of walk some stuff, and then Saturday I'll do the 5K every now and then. She'll do the 5K. Sunday is her business day. And so I get that as well. And I want to go back to Rena real quick, just to say we were talking about your experience, your sister-in-law, you took a Tylenol PM, wanted to get a little bit more deeper about what was your experience like before or when you got into Boston, when you got in and that kind of stuff.
It was great. Getting to Boston was great. Puma sponsored me with their Project 3, so I got to use a lift to get
No
downtown,
way.
so I didn't take the train. That was super nice. Yeah, it was. Just met a lot of really great people.
When did you get in? Did you get in like Saturday or
I
something?
got in on, oh my goodness. I feel like I'm just a stress case. I got in, the flight was delayed on Friday. I was supposed to leave Friday morning at 10 a.m. My flight got delayed until I should have normally got in at 3 p.m. And my flight got delayed till I wouldn't get in until after 6 p.m. And there was a dinner I really wanted to make with a bunch of former BYU athletes, all the Utah group that was out
So
there. I was
maybe
going to meet up with them for
when you
dinner.
When do you usually get in a race like this? And when did you get into Boston? Tell me a little bit about that experience and what you do. Are you all business too?
Yeah, I agree with Aaron. When you spend this much time and dedication to a race and you spend a lot of money to go there and you're trying to get a PR, and I'm not saying that there's loads of people who their goal is to enjoy the experience and they do all the things, and that's, absolutely awesome. And that's why they have all the fun runs. I had an event Friday night through the running company that I run for and represent, Heartbreak Running Company. And so I flew in on Friday. I actually changed my flight schedule. I was originally going to fly in on Saturday because sometimes it's hard for me to get days off at my work if we don't have enough staffing, but I was able to get some coverage, change my flight schedule, and flew in Friday to make that event. But then after that, everything's relatively low key. I didn't go to any of the special runs on the day before. The only thing I did was go pick up my bib at the Pro Fairmont Hotel where we had a technical meeting. But I had family and friends there too. It was my boyfriend's first time running Boston, so we both ran it together. My parents flew in from Chicago. We have our best family friend's daughter lives in Boston, and her fiance was running, so my parents' best friends also came in to watch. So we had a big team carb fest beforehand. So all the people that are super, super close to me, my sister and her wife couldn't make it, but I can't say how lucky I am with the support that my parents and my sister and her wife have given me over the years running marathons. Especially, I don't live in Chicago where they're all at. And my parents came to every single one of my college races. They've literally seen every single one of my marathons. My sister has seen a majority of my marathons. And I don't ask them that. I say, oh, this is my plan. They're like, okay, great. We already got the hotel. Tickets are bought.
That's great.
And my mom is, I cannot wait until you do the international marathons. I think you should do Paris next. I'm like, okay. So yeah, I'm
They're telling
pretty
you
much
your
the luckiest
schedule.
person ever. They're so supportive.
That's really great. Now, did you stay afterwards and then do anything or what?
Yeah, my boyfriend actually and I stayed the whole time on the East Coast. He had a family member that passed away last November, and they had a celebration of life in New Jersey. So we actually stayed in Boston an extra day. We then took the train down to New York, spent a day in New York, and then just spent time with his family in New Jersey for the rest of the week, which was so nice. I usually return back to work a few days after, and having experienced a whole week off, I'm never going back. I'm going to give myself the week off after every race.
Sure.
It was really nice to have a full week off.
It's awesome. You said your boyfriend ran the marathon as well?
Yes, yeah, it was his second marathon.
And he ran Boston for the first time then?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. So
That's
he did
pretty awesome.
really good too. I think he got a 6 or 7 minute PR. So yeah,
I
he
love
did
it.
great.
Welcome back, Rena. Jennifer, let's talk about your experience in London. How'd that go?
Yeah, it went really well. My husband come with me, and he the same as the two of them. The only downside when you're traveling internationally is you don't get to travel internationally a lot. My Thursday through Saturday was sitting in a hotel room and very minimal walking and not really being able to see London. And when you're in London, you really want to see it.
Yeah, of course.
But my husband doesn't mind because he hits up every single those little dive pubs that are everywhere. So he was having a ball.
Yeah.
But no, I pretty much stick to the hotel outside of. I did the one Puma shakeout because they gave us some gear and stuff, and then just straight to the expo, which the same as Aaron, they make those way longer than they need to be, trying to weave you through everything. But I just like to get in and out and get back off my feet, and that's pretty much as far as pre-race and all that. That's a pretty similar experience. But then afterwards, Scott and I, we went up to Scotland and had a full 5 days there to enjoy. And I recommend it. Like Mimi said, it's like the reward at the end, especially traveling internationally, but traveling anywhere. If I'm going to go out there, then I think of that as whether you did great, whether you did poorly, like you take the time to celebrate it either way, to reflect on it, take the week off. And it just, to me, I like making vacations out of a lot of my races.
I love that. In Scotland, was it windy and cold or?
It wasn't too windy, but it was definitely colder than I thought it was going to be. But I think that's just because when you're running around here and you think 60 is okay, and then all of a sudden when like you're walking outside all day, 50 actually feels pretty cold. Like early in the morning, like 50 sounds amazing when you're running, but then when you're just standing there, I was like, oh, cold. But it was great weather. We didn't have rain or anything like that. So it was perfect for travel.
Yeah, Aaron mentioned that you don't do too much, and it sounds like none of you really do too much a few days, which I get that. I understand. But what they've done in Boston and so many marathons nowadays, from what I can tell, is they'll have one sponsor of the big kind of, what do you call it? Go in there and one big sponsor. And there's nothing else there that day besides what that sponsor is giving their shoes and their stuff. And so what these companies have to do are these little pop-ups. And in Boston, they do a really good job of where it's Newberry Street or other areas to where they have these small pop-ups for other vendors to really showcase their stuff. And it is unfortunate because one vendor owns that area and that's all, and it's okay. And then you'll see some other vendors there that are just you're like, okay, why is this vendor even here? So I don't know if you got that or you don't even pay attention when you go, but I know I've been kind of disappointed in some of these and when you go to these and stuff like that. So what hotel, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think like to an extent, so Adidas sponsors, Rena's got the shirt on. You can see Adidas sponsors the Boston Marathon. And I think like at the big conference centers, they probably pay so much money to only have their gear. And then you've got all the local companies and all the little things that you're just going to, Adidas pays a lot of money to have only their gear at the conference. And then I think like these majors are all going to have these pop-ups, but the Boston area, similar to like Washington State and Oregon, are the driving stone to where all major running companies from. Okay, Brooks is out west, Nike's out west, but you have Tracksmith, you have Heartbreak, you have, I think it's New Balance is based out of Boston. I remember in college, we had a meet down in Boston and we had a networking event at, I think it was New Balance. So I think like they've already got all their stores out there and they've got all the big running events. And then just in general at all these major expos, this is huge money-making opportunities for all of these brands, and running has gotten so big. It's interesting to see at other running races where there aren't these major companies already stationed there and it's not a major. I think a lot more is probably at the expos in terms of what they're not going to have as many pop-ups because it's like at the expo, that's where all the main things are. So that might be why Adidas really was the main bear in the conference space.
Yeah. And look, I think all the expos are starting to do it. I don't think it's just Adidas just taking over an expo center. I think that you go to Chicago or New York or any of those, you see something similar for these one brands taking over the expo and then seeing kind of these mom and pop kind of brands come up as that aren't shoe focused or apparel focused and those things.
I think I want to.
Yeah, go ahead.
But me was saying before, there's a lot of people who go and seek out every single pop-up. And that, again, it depends on what you want your experience to be. And for some people, that is the experience of going to every single pop-up. And I laugh because I went with someone to London and he did no shakeouts because he wanted to save his feet for walking around to get to every single pop-up. And
awesome.
Farrell, he loves it. And so that's his vibe. He loves the social aspect of it. And whereas I'm like, overpriced clothes, nope, back to the hotel room. That doesn't even appeal to me. But no, that people love it. And that's just that they'll go and seek out different pop-ups that are at the marathon and they like walking around and doing that.
One of the brands I was impressed with was Puma. I didn't even know until I saw their running shoes. I was like, those are cool as hell. They look cool anyway. I've not tried them on. I'd have to try them on to say, but I was like, man, they just come on the scene all of a sudden. So I don't know if anybody knows anything about that, but I was pretty impressed with some of these people's shoes that they were wearing. I was like, man, I might have to try me some.
Yeah, we don't know anything about that. No, it's over now. Obviously, the program is wrapped up. So it's like for the entire duration of our marathon build, we weren't allowed to like take any pictures or post anything about the prototype. But both Rhea and I got to wear their prototype shoe. And now that the training cycle and the marathon is over, I mean, there's no benefit to me for me to say anything good or bad about them, but pure honesty, I loved them. I would absolutely get them again. I thought they were very much the equivalent of I was only wearing the Alpha Flies before. And so they blew me away, quite honestly. And I'll probably purchase them in the future without a discount or anything. So I thought they were great.
That's pretty awesome. Rena, what'd you think?
I liked them. I do not like the Alpha Flies as much as I thought I would. They're like, I'm more of a high cadence runner, so lots of little short steps. But yeah, the Pumas were great. I didn't notice anything, so that's a good thing.
Aaron, so one of the things that you mentioned was like during the race, you missed it on nutrition or whatever. What happened? I'm a little curious.
Yeah, I thought through everything, and but there's always just something to learn from mistakes. But so I learned from my first Boston that I can't really digest goo that well, and I think since then I've had a little PTSD from that. So I've always taken goo like chomps or blocks or something to that effect. And the packages that you buy there, they're different than an actual goo. So most goos are 100 calories. Sometimes they're 110 or so. And a package of goo is basically 160. So it's like or goo chomps or whatever are basically 160. So instead of hitting 200 calories per package and thinking it's 2 goos, it was actually a little bit less than that. It's 1.5 or so. So I lost a goo probably by mile 4. And then I also miscalculated. So I was taking a goo. What I thought was a goo was actually like 75% of one or close to that, rather, every, I would say, 4 miles, and got behind on those. So I finished the race. I took 5 packages total. So it would have been, I had some extras just in case. I did drop one, planned for that, but dropped one. And then I finished the race with 2 and I think almost 2.5 packages. So not very smart there, but also to me, it was like a confidence boost. Dang, this sucks. Like in the sense that like I have so much salt on me. And so you can just tell that this person did not plan accordingly to follow nutrition standards for what their body should be doing. And if I would have ran any slower, I think that would have just absolutely destroyed me. But yeah, it just miscalculated and was thinking about a bunch of other stuff during the race and just focusing on the race that I was in. And I didn't realize at the time, I'm like, oh, dang. I think I realized it honestly at mile 20 or 22. And then I thought I was actually only a goo or so behind. So I was like, no problem. That was not the case. And so then I finished and found out in my pockets that on my left side, I actually had more. So anyway, it just honestly gave me the confidence to, if I do, like to Mimi's point, I think a little bit more favorable of a race, good weather and good nutrition, I'm very confident that I can go faster. And that's always the goal. But yeah, it makes for a better story. I was telling that to Jennifer yesterday because she said something about having a boring run on Strava. Is like life with boring stories are no fun, right? Like the best times in life are from the craziness that happens, the better story. So had everything went perfectly and I just ran slower, then that's just a really boring podcast. But you got a guy who's been running for a long time and still doesn't know how to figure out his dang nutrition, and that's just normal life.
I think the beauty about just being human is we all forget things or don't. You're running so hard that you can't think of everything. You're trying to figure out, how am I going to run this race? And then all of a sudden you think you're out of goos and whatever. Just can't think straight whenever you're like that sometimes. I'm curious, Rena, whenever you're running, and I want y'all to think about this because I'm always interested when you're running and you're near somebody and keeping the pace, or I guess the question here is, when you were running, did you find somebody to latch onto? Do you think about that? Or do you just run your own race and you don't worry about anything else? Because for me, I look at somebody, I'm like, okay, I want to pass them or I want to stay with them or this is a good pace. I don't know. What's your thinking around that?
I love running with other people. So even at the start, I was like, okay, Mimi, we're going to stay together this first little bit. Okay, deal, done. That didn't happen. But I was so surprised that there was nobody to run with in this race. Everybody took off. I stuck to my plan. I was going to do 6-minute pace the first little bit and then try to pick it up after that. There was no one the entire race. And then by mile 15, then the guys started passing me. And maybe it was Aaron that passed me because I was like, I could tell that guy's been getting a lot of salt in him. Just kidding. Oh, but it was, if there
That's
had
awesome.
to be a
So
race,
you
you
didn't
got
really
to
have.
run by. What's that? Yeah, if there's a race you got to run by
Go ahead.
yourself, that is the race to run because there are people screaming at you the entire time. It was amazing.
That's awesome. I love that. Jennifer, how do you think about that whenever you're in Boston, you're trying to go for PR? What's your thinking around that, and what do you do?
It's with running with people. I prefer to run with a crowd, with a group, to latch on. And London was the absolute rowdiest that I've ever run a marathon. I'd say it blew away every other marathon I've ever done. Now I keep telling these guys I have to go back and do like Boston, because I did it during the COVID year, and then Chicago I was injured, so it wasn't quite the same mindset. But London just absolutely blew me away. Through mile, like it was like 18. I was out there pumping up the crowd, throwing my hands in the air, and it makes you go a little bit, maybe that's too fast. But I was just absolutely loving it and truly enjoying the experience the entire time. There was no shortage. I didn't run with anyone else, like pace to pace throughout the race. I was pretty much solo doing my own pacing, but it was so crowded that if you wanted to latch on or you wanted to just group up, you could. I didn't really group like I normally would. A lot of times packs form naturally, so I felt like I was doing pretty much my own pace, but it worked out well.
Yeah, you're probably passing people, or some people are passing you all throughout, and and maybe you mentioned that you kind of latched on in the beginning to some women, and there was some racing going on. Did that happen kind of throughout the whole entire race, or what did that look like?
It was up until mile 18. So, like I had said earlier, there was a pretty significant separation between a lead group and a chase pack. And I was leading that chase pack with another girl. We, like I said, linked up together beforehand. I've run many, or not many, 3 marathons out of my 6. I guess I would say many. With her, we paced each other back in Chicago to get the OTQ. So I know her style of running. Like I know we're very similar runners. And then probably by mile 3, it ended up being just a pack of 5 of us. And I was with those group of girls up until mile 18. A couple people caught us, and then you either went with those people or you didn't. But even that group, it like spread out. But to have 18 miles worth of running with people, we're all like pretty respectful of making sure we got out of each other's way to get water. I would go back, or I would speed up to make sure if I wanted to get water. I was getting water a lot more at the stations, I would say, than other people. But I also only had 6 bottles out there versus 8. Calculation error on my part, read the instructions. But it was really nice to have those people, because even though we were like racing, we were also really respectful of what was going on, and we're trying to lean on each other to set the pace. Like I felt like at some points I was leading, at some points I was in the back, at some points we were like 4 across. It just depended on the race and everything. And there was no one around us at all. So it's not like we had the whole entire road.
Yeah.
So I usually would say I like to run quote unquote solo, like my own pacing, because I like to dictate my pace. I don't want to be going a pace that I'm not set for and then crash and burn later because I tried to keep up with people. But honestly, this race, I think it changed the way I need to think about running these marathons, especially at the level that I think we all want to run them. You have to compete, and the competition of focusing on that versus being such a stickler to the pace actually, I think, helps you feel better in the long run, even though it can be a little fast at times.
Do you think, and whoever wants to answer that, do you think the view of, like Mimi mentioned this, is there's a difference between going between times, right? I want to hit 2:30, I don't know, whatever it is. We always want to try to get better in our times, and in racing, because like when I look at the Boston Marathon, for example, for the most part, elites aren't necessarily they're going for some times, but they're not going to beat the world record. They're not even going to get close to that. So they're just racing. It's a race to win rather than a race to get a time. And how do y'all think about that during it sounds like Mimi, you went for a race this time, and I don't know if that's true, but how about the other 3? And you can answer this too, maybe in a minute. How do you look at that this time? For example, I know that you're looking to get a PR. Do you think of that in a different way, or is it just say, look, I'm just looking for this time and I just want to hit that?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. And I would say that it's been a nuance for me as well, which is, yes, I would like to get a certain time, but in the back of my mind, that I would rather have a place than I would a time. At the end of the day, I do a lot of the stuff that I do, and for better or for worse, I'm an extremely competitive person in pretty much everything that I do, and I can
I
see.
bet none of you are that competitive.
So I think it falls into that, but I agree with that, and just picking up on from what Mimi had said and Rena has mentioned too, right? They were a certain place within Boston, and I think I never really thought about that, but Eric, who's not on the podcast at the time, we were talking about Cowtown, and we were just mentioning like there's a difference between, just running a race and going for a time and then actually racing it. And I think there's just been a shift in my mind too of, I want to hit a pace, but it's more so at that pace, I think that I can push myself to a level where I end up racing. And I played a lot of other sports. Honestly, running was like an ancillary, secondary thing for a while. And then I think a God-given talent pushed me to try a little bit harder. But there's a difference between trying not to lose and playing to win. And I think that's a shift that I've had recently as well. And just maybe, like I said, underlines that, which is time and everything is there is good, but also sometimes you have to just throw your thinking out of you got to take that frontal cortex of your brain or that lizard brain out and just push it aside and push yourself to the next level to see what you're capable of. And so that's something a mantra I've been trying to talk to myself through as well. Just honestly, it's very good timing to mention that, but I agree wholeheartedly with that approach.
I love that. Rena, what do you think?
Yeah,
How do you
Boston
kinda-
for me, the whole first 18 miles, I just told myself, okay, you are just going to hold back these first 18 miles. Just wait till after Heartbreak Hill. And I just kept waiting for it. And wait, okay, where's Heartbreak Hill? When's it coming? And then I can give everything I have. And that's how it was. Yeah, it played out really well. I ran pretty even splits.
Yeah, I think that's pretty impressive. And Jennifer, any thoughts around that?
It's hard to never go. I think I echo both Mimi and Aaron and all of them, but it's also really hard not to automatically have a time goal in your mind. I think they said you still have a goal. When I look at these big races, I just never know how competitive it's going to be. And when you enter the London Marathon to think, I'm not really racing for a place because I have no idea what to even expect or what. Would I be top 15? Would I be top 20? Right? I had no idea. And when you're in the race, because you start with this mass of people, it's really hard to even know if I'm where we are because it's just so crowded everywhere. And so I think for me, it's hard not to have an actual time goal going in. But I also think that being able to finish strong and being able to take your nutrition, and those are all just different types of goals. They aren't related to necessarily a time, but it still gets you there and you're still making you feel more confident for the next race. And you play these little tweaks of, what works. And that way, the next time you can add that into whatever goal you have. And so it plays with one another.
I feel like all four of you at any given time, depending on the race, could win a race, whether it's half marathon, full. Now, if it's in Boston or some big major or whatever, it's going to be a little bit harder to win. And there could be, like, if you go to Dallas Marathon or hers, depending on who shows up, all four of you would have a chance to win it, whether it's women's or men's or the whole thing.
Well, Jennifer just did Cowtown. Wasn't that you, Jennifer?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
I have to say, I've done Dallas now 3 years in a row, but someone keeps beating me every year.
So I'm just saying, it's just, and maybe some of those races are like, okay, I'm going to race that necessarily for time, but just to win it or whatever. It's because, are they really even PR courses? Some of them, to me, Cowtown's a really difficult course. And I don't know how people PR it. They do, but it seems like it's a lot harder to do that. So rather than trying to PR something like that, it's, can I win this thing?
Yeah.
Chris, you
one
might
of
have-
but
Oh, you go, Jen. You go.
no, I think with a lot of it's nice and a little bit more convenient when if you get into, I think very privileged to be able to be into some of the elite fields of some of these races because they send out who's going to be racing with you. And if they're people from DFW, okay, here's their PRs, here's what they can do. And that's why I was just joking about Dallas, is because Mimi and we run it every year. It's so convenient. We love running Dallas. I know Mimi's going to be number one or be up there every year. And so it's just, you base it off of that sometimes. And even Cowtown, every single year, they tend to have this pack from Grand Prairie. It's this group of Kenyan ladies who show up and they tend to win every year. And this year they didn't show up. I don't know why, but thankful for I got a win. But you just kind of, sometimes you do it, but you just look who's going to be there and you kind of like, okay, let's maybe have a chance to win.
Mimi?
Yeah, and I was gonna say, like, again, to both Jen and your point, Chris, about unpredictability. I think for the listener, if it's some of the people we train for that listener, hopefully there's some people that we don't know that are listening as well. I take the approach of, I come from a background of cross country and track in high school and college. And Rena, obviously, she competed intensely at BYU as well. I haven't touched on that yet, but she still is baller, but pretty baller back in her day. We come from a background where time did not matter in cross country at all. Like, I don't even know what my PR is in cross country because you're running on golf courses. The next day you're running on these major hills. It's storming, it's muddy, it's over grass. If you're in the South, the grass is like long. It's just all over the place. So you don't care what your time is at all. You're just running and competing. And that's how you get points for your team. And that's all that matters is the next person. If you're in first or if you're in 100th place, every point matters. So versus the track, you can get 100th place, but get a major PR. And other than crazy weather, it pretty much can be the same every single time. So when you're looking at these road races or these marathon races, it absolutely depends on the condition and the type of course, right? Boston is a hilly course, but to be honest, it's mostly downhill. And that's what makes it hard. People don't want to recognize that. It's not the uphills, it's the downhills that really make this course challenging in the later miles. But you've got some like flat courses like Chicago, CIM is rolling, but fairly flat. So it just depends. So I think about when you're thinking about your time and everything, it's hard sometimes to compare course to course. So when we talk about racing, it's not always racing like to get a certain like number one, but it's racing the people around you and not giving up and using that as a way. So like regardless if you're literally 20,000 place at one of these major marathons, you're still out there racing because sometimes a time might be out the window. That doesn't mean that you had an excellent race because it could be 70 degrees, raining, and really humid. That's what I think is the most important part about these racing. It's when it gets challenging, are you able to use the people around you and use that to your advantage when the clock's not looking as great as you want it to per split?
Yeah, I think we get so hung up on times, and it's for good reason. It keeps us competitive. It keeps us focused. I'm not saying it's bad to focus a little bit on times, but sometimes you just want to focus on that race. And you're right. I ran cross country back in the day in high school and not college. One time at one cross country meet is going to be different than the other one. I mean, by a minute or two, maybe. It depends on kind of the course. Who knows? It does depend on that, on some of the courses that you run in marathons for sure, especially downhill versus up and all that kind of stuff. It's great points. Is there one thing that going into the marathons that you guys did that you were like, I cannot forget to do this thing? When you think of whether it's nutrition, Aaron, you knew you could forget that apparently. But Rena, anything that you can think about is one specific thing that you know you got to do.
Okay, I will tell you the one specific thing for this marathon, because you guys will probably all have similar things to say. This is starkly different, mainly because I'm aging. And so this marathon, I said, I cannot forget. I have compression leggings that go all the way up to my thigh for the travel, for the plane trip. And I noticed that because I've had 7 babies. And so I have varicose veins and they swell. And so that was the one thing I was like, I cannot forget to wear those or my legs are going to just be heavy. And I wore them. My sister-in-law, she met me out there. She said that next morning, my legs are so swollen. I walked around so much. And in my head, I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I wore those. That helped so much.
That's great, Rena. I thought you were 40. How old are you?
Yeah, I'm 42.
Okay. All right. Wow, you're 42 and you're running at this level. That's pretty freaking amazing.
Thank you.
And you just told me you had 7
pretty
kids,
happy.
so even more amazing. Wow. Oh, I've got to talk to you more. Anything else anybody wants to bring up that they just must have during a race or before the marathon? I don't know. Is there anything there? Nothing really that just comes to mind.
I think, yeah, not to go off of the beaten path here. I think for me is 2 things are just the mantra that I just continue to say in my head, which sounds very corny, but also just the reminder to have fun. Because to Rena's point, and I thought she was going to go there, so I will only say it because I thought that's where she was, is that it is a very limited time. We talked about this last podcast. Jennifer mentioned something earlier, and I hope it is true for a very long time, but she's like, Mimi's going to be at the top of this race. And like in 30 years, 40 years, hopefully Mimi still is at the top of the race, but we're not granted or we're not guaranteed, if you will, the opportunity to be up there. And there's going to be new people that replace, and there's always different packs of people who have come before us and people who will come after us. So it's just remembering to live in the actual moment and just have fun. I actually did have fun in Boston. There were parts of it where absolutely was not fun, but I embraced the suck, if you will. But the mantra I told myself, which is, like I said, is very corny, is that this pain is absolutely temporary and the glory from the finishing this or whatever it is that I deem in my head is forever at that point. So no matter what, in Boston 2025, I ran a 2:37:13. There's no etching that out, no matter how much the pain was at that point. So I think for me, it's a reminder that we do all of this work to actually enjoy it and have fun and push yourself. That's why I do this. So, and it is short. It's a very short time period if you think about it, that we get to do this.
Yeah, I think that's very well said. And as you embrace that race and enjoy it in a lot of ways, you got also think about the community that you're running with, the people that you're doing it with. That comes and goes. I've been doing this for a long time, and the people that you think that you're so good of friends with, and not friendships can stay for a long time, but that moment, and when you're running with your group, even before the race, those miles that you're putting in, cherish that, because the reality is people move on with their lives. They have kids, they move, they stop running or whatever. I don't know, whatever. They get injured. And there's a lot of things that happen in life. And so the moment you've been running with your friends and enjoying those miles and those hardcore, like you guys said, 80 to 120 miles, whatever you do, enjoy that. And then you get that race, give it all you can and enjoy that moment. Because the other thing is you age. I'm 50 years old now, right? And I'm not as fast as I was when I was 40. Like I could say, man, I'm feeling good. I'm going to go do this race. I've done this race 5 times. I'm going to get a PR and I'll run 5 minutes slower. And I'm like, oh my God, like, how did that even happen? This was my best race. I know it was. I just can't run that fast anymore. I just can't. There comes a time where that happens. Unless at 50 years old, you just started running, you're going to have all kinds of PRs. And so, the moment is today you're younger, right? And you have that ability. That's why I'm 50. And so I just hope I can win my age group now. I'm close almost every single time, depending on the race, to win my age group. That's what I want. I'm not going to win Masters because they're 40-year-olds going to kick my ass. But that's just the way it is. And I love that, Aaron. Like, you get me pumped up by saying that because I've lived it already. And I know all of what you're saying is 1000% true. So thank you for saying that. You got me all fired up there.
Well spoken.
Yeah, it was, Aaron. Anybody else on that? No. What are y'all looking to do? I know that talking to Mimi and Jennifer, and I don't remember what Aaron said last time. The summer is all about the short and just fast stuff, 5Ks maybe, and things like that. But any kind of thinking about what's next? Let's go to Rena and just make sure her stuff works. Get her.
If all goes well, I would like to train for the Olympic trials 2028
Oh yeah, that's in
in a couple of years. But also,
2 years.
Right now I'm taking a nice break and just enjoying my family, and then I'll kind of get back into shape and qualify next year or the year after.
Well, what does your summer look like, Rena? Are you going to do 5Ks or anything like that, or is it just complete break and then just?
Right now I'm just taking a complete break. I'm actually digging. I'm putting in it just escaped me. I'm working in the yard, doing lots of yard work.
I love it.
Yeah.
Amy.
I probably, same with Rena, trials window opens 2026. It may open a little bit earlier, but it's going to be at the end of this year. They're going to announce soon whether they're going to do another time cut or not. So I have some travel plans, some weddings. So I'm teaching a class this summer, taking on a couple of job opportunities. So I'm just not doing any more marathons this year. I'd rather just build up my base and just get my mileage up, work on some speed stuff, and have a really good fall cycle training to hopefully do a marathon in early June. So maybe Houston, but we'll see.
January, you mean?
Sorry. Yeah, I said June. Yep. January.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. I was like, June, that's like coming up. Yeah, that's great. I assume you'll do some halves and things like that, 5Ks or throughout?
Yeah. There's
Okay.
some local ones I'll probably do. I don't know about traveling for any. I've got 3 weddings, a bachelorette weekend, sister's 30th. I got a lot of trips. I don't know if I'm going to travel anymore for any other races. So I'll do the ones locally that are available.
Cool. How about you, Aaron?
Yeah, I think it's more of a summer of speed. I would like to get some more sleep. Try to make that a priority. I say that as I woke up at 4:15 this morning, but old habits die hard, they say. No, but I would like to work on speed, strength, and yeah, I would like to do a potentially fall race. But yeah, I have a lot of stuff coming up with family, and just I like to spend the summers traveling. So I'll be spending a lot of time on that. Not feeling a little bit more guilt-free that I don't have to. It's not that I don't have to. I would like to run on vacation, but I don't have to do a certain time or a certain pace or a certain thing. I can just do it because I love being out in the sun on the beach, and I've gotten in my workout and I feel good, but not because I'm in the middle of a training cycle. So a lot more speed, I would like to do a lot more, like I said, lifting and just continue with that. Boston was nice because I got back into that habit and I have enjoyed that. And I just want a continuation with that of that. But could be talking into a fall marathon. We will see. But as of right now, it's really just summer of strength and enjoying miles, smiling with some friends.
Well, I love that you brought in the strength stuff because a lot of us runners are a big proponent of just running and not doing the core and strength and all of that kind of stuff because we're spending so much time running. So it's hard to get that other stuff in. But I think, especially as you age, you can't, I think it's probably true no matter how young you are, but certainly when you age, getting that stuff in is highly important because you feel it in your bones. I do. I've never felt it the last year or two than I do now. Like it's ridiculous. So you have to do that. How about you, Jennifer? I saw you, by the way. So not too long ago, the qualification time was 2:45 and it went down to 2:35 for women. That was 2:04. Oh yeah. Yeah. You,
4, and then it went down to 2:37.
oh, okay. 2:37. So now it's a 2:37. And maybe you mentioned that there's a possibility for it to go down even more. Is that right?
Yeah, there's a possibility of having an A, B, and C group. Yeah, there used to be an A and B. They cut it just down to A, so I don't know why they would bring B and C back. They might cut it down, just make the A harder. There's just a lot of talks, I think, financially wise for the Olympic Committee. They're trying to figure out what's beneficial for them. A lot of people argue, do we even need an Olympic trial qualify for the marathon? Because other countries don't do it like that. But I think it gives a lot of people a really great opportunity to run in a really competitive race. So that it would be a shame, but it's what is best for that business. So we'll see.
Yeah. When they cut it from 2:44 to 2:37, I thought, man, that's a huge cut. I think the thought was there's just so many women that got so much faster over the last years that it's like, you can't let everybody in. Yeah, that could happen. I think you're right. I think Super Shoes has helped a ton. There's no doubt with both recovery, with less injuries, and obviously they're just there to help you run really fast. So it's a good point, Rena. Did I miss anything that you just wish we would have covered and we should have covered? Wow. Let me just say this. Just wow. All 4 of you are amazing and super fast, super great, and you're dedicated to your craft. And it's very, to me, I respect that a lot. The reason I do this podcast is I get to talk to people like you and the dedication that you put into the craft. And I think it's important. And look, like Mimi said, it's not always about the speed. To me, running is about a quality of life. It helps me to have an amazing quality of life and really get to go to London, get to go to Germany, I get to go all over the world, mostly because of my wife runs all these marathons, right? But you're bringing people along with you your family gets to come along sometimes to some of these really fun places and cool places because of what you're doing. So I respect that a lot. And I want to thank you again for coming on to this podcast, but thank you for putting all the work in and the time and the effort because what you're doing to me is extremely important. So thank y'all very much for coming on. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another DFW Running Talk. I'm Chris Detzel. Don't forget to rate and review us. So important. And we have lots of other things. Look in the show notes. So thank you, everyone, for coming in again.